Now, Donald Trump's America is witnessing a range of different developments every day. From new decisions, big statements, a rising backlash against policy overhaul, and citizens' protests. So here's the lowdown of everything that has happened in just the last 24 hours. Let's begin. So the American president's funding bill is facing backlash in the Senate, and it comes at a time when the lawmakers are scrambling to avoid a government shutdown on Friday. The Democrat senators, led by Chuck Schumer, have said that they will reject the government funding bill, which was passed in the House of Representatives. The Blue Camp's lawmakers are demanding that the GOP lawmakers should propose an extension for a period of 4 weeks. The time will be used to detail out a long-term bipartisan plan and to carefully consider the provision of each separate spending bill. The stopgap bill, which the Republican lawmakers wrote and then passed in the lower house, concerns maintaining the flow of federal funds. While the U.S. Congress chambers are running against time on one issue, another emerges through Trump's latest decision. The American president has halted funds worth $1 billion that were earmarked for sustaining America's affordable housing. Now, Donald Trump's halt on these funds has put over 25,000 low-income housing units at risk. Now, the Green and Resilient Retrofit program passed by the Congress in 2022 provided essential funding for energy efficiency upgrades such as repairing roofs, replacing heating systems and also flood proofing. This program was crucial for maintaining affordable housing for low-income Americans with grants and loans that leverage additional investments for major repair work. Now, the funding freeze leaves hundreds of housing projects in jeopardy across 42 states and also in Puerto Rico. Now, the program's shutdown threatens vital renovation projects without funding. Residents face uncertainty and projects will likely experience delays and increased costs. Now, housing experts have warned that without these essential upgrades, many buildings will in fact deteriorate, ultimately exacerbating the nationwide housing crisis. On the third front, the immigrant exodus under Trump's presidency has reached New York's hotel's doorstep. The Department of Justice is investigating a hotel in Manhattan for using the property as an immigrant shelter and providing housing. The prosecutors are in fact questioning the hotel management and they're asking for a full list of immigrants living on the property. Now, the Department of Justice alleges that the hotel in question has violated the immigration law. They're now investigating as to who financed and managed the immigrant shelter program. The streets of New York and other cities are also witnessing some regular protests in support of the Palestinian activist Mahmoud Khalil. Now, hundreds are protesting against the government and are demanding that the authorities should release the leader of the pro-Palestinian protests at Columbia University. The immigration authorities, remember, had arrested Mahmoud Khalil despite the activist being a legal permanent resident with a green card. And after his arrest, the authorities are preparing to deport Khalil without formally accusing him of any crime. Now, critics are now demonstrating against the crackdown on pro-Palestinian voices within the United States. All right, now to give us more perspective in terms of what is unfolding in the United States of America, we are joined by our correspondent Susan Tehrani, who is joining us live from New York. Susan, amongst the many things that are happening under the Trump administration, one thing that stands out is this cut of funding to affordable housing. The housing crisis in America is a huge issue, and the Biden and the Trump administration now cutting off $1 billion that was to go towards affordable housing. How will this resonate with the American public?
Yeah, the issue of affordable housing is really something that many Americans grapple with. The elusive American dream that ultimately by a certain age, under 30, you were able to own a house is really far gone at this point. And just in New York alone, we learned that rent prices are now at an all-time high. They went up, and in Manhattan alone, the lowest rent that you can find is around $5,000. So you can imagine how much the issue of rent, housing, and homelessness, where a lot of Americans are just one paycheck away from being homeless, it really grapples the mind of the American psyche. It's important to note that these fundings, these cuts to these fundings were for these green initiatives that really weren't able to be utilized the way they should for affordable housing. Ultimately, when housing was made in affordable regions, or affordable housing was put up even in places like Manhattan and Los Angeles, those initiatives weren't utilized. So I think the cut right now, at least, is for this reason, to try to figure out where that money can be utilized, where it actually goes to the proper avenues, as opposed to just sort of being this poster for clean energy. And I think that's the main question. Now, again, as you mentioned, housing is so important. It's yet to be seen whether or not the American people have the patience to see these kinds of reforms, not just this one.
Indeed. Thank you very much, Susan Tehrani, for joining us with all those details then. For all the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.